guys, Katie here. I'm here to talk about God's presence through our infertility journey so far. I know that our infertility journey is just starting, so there is a lot of work still to be done, but I did want to give you just kind of how God prepared my heart. He first prepared my heart for motherhood. He started this before Kyle and I even got married, because before we got married, I was pretty nervous about becoming a mom. Kyle's job keeps him in and out of town, so he's always traveling, and we never know where he's going to go next or for how long. Right before we got married, he was in Reading for 6 months, so he was only home Friday night through Sunday night. So he was barely home at all, and he was in Reading the rest of the week. The first person that God kind of put in my path was someone whose husband is in class with Kyle. Their class is super small. It's only 15 men, and it is in the Sacramento area, so that's a pretty big region. And I thought it was pretty obvious that it was a God thing that she walked into the optometry office that I work at. We got to chit-chatting about how she handles her 4 children, 3 boys and 1 newborn little girl. And she said that it was really hard at first, but she felt confident in her capabilities and then also in my future capabilities of being able to handle it. She said that you just kind of figure it out and you make it work. I was still pretty nervous. A couple weeks later, I flew to Seattle for the weekend, and as my mom was dropping me off at the airport, I asked her to pray because I had a lot of anxiety around becoming a mom. I was willing to wait a couple of years before we started, really to get our footing, but Kyle's ready now. So I just asked her for prayer and comfort, and she did. I got onto my airplane, into my seat, and it was seated in the very back right by the restrooms. And about halfway through our flight, a woman who was traveling by herself with her 8-week-old baby, she had to go to the bathroom, and she just kind of is like, "Will you hold this?" And of course I said yes, and I let her go to the bathroom, but I'm just looking down at this little baby boy thinking, all right, God, you can't make it any clearer. I was nervous about having a baby, so you handed me a baby. I get it, and if you think this is right and this is what is supposed to happen, then let it come. Right after we got married, I decided to put fertility on the prayer request at church. For no particular reason. We didn't really have anything to worry about other than the fact that I wasn't having cycles very often, but I felt like I was still ovulating, so there was still a chance for it to happen, but I did put that on the prayer request. And someone who works at the church actually asked me if there was anything specific going on, and I really didn't have an answer for her because I didn't know there was anything going on. I had bought OPKs, or over-the-counter ovulation prediction kits. I bought those in April before Kyle and I got married, and in the front of my mind I kept thinking, this is second guessing God, this is putting my trust in man and not in his plan. But in the back of my mind I kept thinking, you don't know your body, you don't know what's going on inside of there. Just take these tests and you may find out, you may get a clearer answer. And whenever something is in the back of my mind, I really feel like that is God talking to me, or the Holy Spirit really preparing me for something. So I decided to go through with those ovulation kits, and without them I never would have known that I have elevated LH. I never would have brought that to my doctor's attention, and it may be a long time before we found out that I had PCOS. Before I went to the ER for that long period, I had called and made an appointment, and the only appointment they had was a week out, and it was with a man. And since with an OB, I really prefer seeing a woman for woman issues. Just as a personal preference, I feel more comfortable giving full disclosure. But when I had went to the ER, my doctor in the ER had told me to make an appointment with this doctor. And it was her personal OB. She came very highly recommended, and when I called the doctor's office, it actually was the same office that I had scheduled with, but a different doctor. And I didn't have a written referral. There was nothing on my file saying that I should schedule with this doctor, but I fibbed. I made it sound like my ER doctor had insisted and written a referral for that specific doctor. And I got squeezed in because I stood my ground. And that is not in my personality, but I just felt that I should be seeing this doctor and not that other doctor. I really feel like my OB listens to me. I emailed her about my positive LH OPKs. She offered a blood test, and ultimately when I got that blood test, it did come back that I had PCOS. When she had confirmed that I had PCOS, it was just like something inside of me froze, and I was really upset. I had mentioned in my previous video that when you're really excited about something and you learn it's not going to be as easy as you thought it was going to be, you just kind of freeze. And honestly, I cried for probably 20 minutes. I forwarded the email to Kyle, and in that moment, all I could think of was a Bible verse. And it was one that I had prayed over before, not in this situation, but in another stressful situation, and I just kept repeating in my head, "Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I." And I just kept praying that, and I did find peace. And then afterwards I looked up that Bible verse, and it says, it's Psalm 61:2. "I call to you when my heart is faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I." And I just felt like in that moment, my heart was so faint. I was so upset, and I was hurt that my body was betraying me. And I was sad that this wasn't going to be as easy as I thought it was going to be. And I was mad because I felt like God was calling me to do this thing, to be a mom. And this roadblock just got put in our way. And I felt all those feelings, and I felt that grief in that morning, and I gave myself that time, but I just decided that it was time to look at the bigger picture, and that this has to be for a reason. Sorry, I may be a little weepy for the rest of this video, but I felt like there had to be a reason for this, and I've learned in the past that God always gives me the answer that he doesn't think I can handle. So if there is something that I don't think I can handle without him, I'm given that information beforehand. When I can't handle something, God has a way of speaking to me and letting me know that something off plan, off our path is gonna happen, and it's okay. So currently we are praying and we are drawing closer to God in this time. And we are very confident that God gave us this information for a reason. He gave us this information to use and to utilize, because my doctor didn't think that I had PCOS when I went in. That wasn't something that, because I wasn't having a regular period, that she even brought up. And for most women who are dealing with infertility, they don't get tested for anything until they had been trying for 1 year. Kyle and I hadn't even been trying for a month, and she listened to me and she heard me and she offered me solutions. And currently Kyle and I are trying to pray to decide when we are going to take those solutions. She has offered us Clomid for 3 to 6 months, and if it doesn't work in that 3 to 6 month period, she will refer us out to a reproductive endocrinologist or an RE. So though our journey is not what we expected, that doesn't mean that God's not working through it. That doesn't mean that just because something negative happened to us doesn't mean that God is not still good. I was driving in the car after getting the news, and this song came on the radio, and I'm probably going to cry as I read it to you, but the first little bit really resonated with me, and it reminded me that it's not my will that needs to be done, and that it is God's will that needs to be done. And I'm going to attempt to read this song to you. It says, "I'm so confused. I know I heard you loud and clear, so I followed through, and somehow I ended up here. I don't want to think I may never understand that a broken heart is a part of your plan. When I try to pray and all I've got is hurt and these 4 words, thy will be done. And I just feel like, yes, God led me to this point in my life to want to be a mom, but ultimately He will use this heartbreak for His glory. And I feel very confident and comforted in that fact, and in the fact that everyone has a journey, and not everyone's journey is easy. And I don't know, God's plan could be just to use this to His glory. We could get pregnant tomorrow and think, wow, how awesome is that? What a miracle. Or we could have years of infertility and still think, as soon as we hold our baby or as soon as we get that positive pregnancy test, and think, wow, what a miracle. We went through this hard, terrible thing and God used it. So if you are going through this with me, I'm first of all sorry. I'm sorry that you have to go through this, but not all miracles happen right away. Some of them are years in the making. And that's okay. That doesn't take away from the fact that they are still miracles. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I'm sorry that I cried through half of it. I will try not to make a habit of that, but this is just a subject that is very close to my heart, and it's something that I'm in the middle of right now. And I just ask that you guys pray for us as we make the decision when or if we want to start Clomid, or if that's not part of God's plan for our fertility journey. And I just pray that you guys love each other, and we will see you guys next time for our next video. Bye.